Today I was going to talk about the humbucker and about coil taps. Well, let's start with a few terms first. The humbucker is a pickup that has two coils in it which are wired in such a way that it bucks hum. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll bring the guitar up to my amplifier with just the single coil. Now if I switch the humbucker back in, the hum is much less. If I do a comparison between the two, it's quite a marked change. The humbucker also has a much higher output and a much darker, sort of bassier sound. And then with the single coil, all I've done there is to disconnect one of the coils of my pickup, and it's made such a difference to that sound. Same with the neck pickup. I've got a high output here. That's going through a clean amplifier, well, at least, you know, a clean-ish amp. But if I just switch that coil tap on, I've now got rid of that distortion because the output is a lot lower and I've got a bit more top end as well. So the combination of sounds you can get with this guitar is pretty immense. You could mix them together. So at the moment I've got both pickups running as humbuckers. If I switch one of them out, or the other, or both, I get a whole different range of sounds. They are very subtle, I grant you. But I'm going to show you about how you make a coil tap. So the coil tap is where you basically short out one of your pickups. So I'm going to turn the guitar onto its front now and put it on this operating table here so that you can see a bit more about how this works. So I'll just line it up with the other camera here. There we go. So, armed with my screwdriver as a pointing tool, I'm going to point to the various bits inside here and you can see how to wire one of these things up. This here is the volume control, the input of which comes from the pickup switch, and the pickup switch is fed by the two pickups. But along the way, the pickups go through these two little switches that I described just now. This one here, we just point at this grey wire here. This is the wire that comes from the neck pickup. Now there are three wires inside this, one of which doesn't have a cover on it. It's just wire braiding. That is your ground wire. That goes onto the case of the controls, and everything is grounded together, and including the ground of your jack plug. The other two wires, there are two here. We've got the red and a white. Now, the red is the main output from both pickups combined, so that you've got your two pickups together, ground one side, and then a red wire the other side, which is your main output. Halfway along that, or that is basically on one of the coils, you have a white wire here. And what you can do with this is to put it on a switch that allows it to be then connected to ground. So that means you are shorting out one of your pickups, which leaves only one of them working. That's what a coil tap is. Only sort of the more expensive humbuckers have got this. A cheap humbucker, if you've got a sort of a bottom of the range guitar with humbuckers, sometimes that third wire won't be provided, in which case you can't do a coil tap. So you've got to make sure that when you buy a pickup that you want to do a coil tap on, it's got two main wires and a ground, or the three inside your main case. There is another one here that comes from the treble pickup, or the bridge pickup, which is the light grey one here, which feeds a similar arrangement. I've got a red wire here, which is the main output, which goes to your pickup switch, or I've got the white wire as well, which can be connected to ground. So the coil tap is when that switch is flicked in such a way that that second coil is connected to the ground wire. Now I've provided a wiring diagram. In fact I did a very spannery version here. Look, I taped a wiring diagram of exactly what I'd done, just in case I needed to repair it. And on this it says that there are basically two coils, one of which can be shorted out to ground. And I'll place a better copy of this at the end of this presentation. So you can see how a guitar that maybe didn't have a coil tap to start with can sound much more versatile if you include one. So there is enough room in this sort of cavity to do quite a lot of alterations and wiring, but it really depends on whether you want to go through this whole hog. I mean, this guitar itself is quite a rare guitar, but it doesn't really have any value anymore because I put those two switches on. It's a good job that I never sell anything. I mean, for example, the date that I rewired this, 23rd of June 95. So nearly 23 and a half years down the line, I still own and love this guitar and use it all the time. I shall never sell it, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, there is how to fit a coil tap. Drilling through the wood of the guitar, you've got to be a bit careful that you don't sort of make a right meal of the sort of lacquer. So when you're drilling into something like this, you could put a piece of tape across it first and then drill through the tape and then the wood, which prevents any sort of splintering. And switches like this can be found online very cheaply. You can get something for, you know, a couple of dollars, a couple of pounds, whatever. And it's very easy, a very cheap way of making a guitar very much more versatile.